Hi, this past Wednesday was the 75th anniversary of the passing of Reb Levi Yitzchak, who died in exile, suffered immensely over 5 years of exile, had no privacy, very little food, very little opportunity for kosher food, and almost no interaction with Jews during that bitter exile. Only the last year of his life, when it was determined that he was terminal, was he allowed some contact. He was exiled without his holy books, without any paper or pen to be able to write down his novel ideas. But his wife, the Rebbe Chana, discovered ways of getting him a makeshift pen, making it out of a reed, out of reeds, and inks out of grasses and other chemicals that were available. Where could he write? He had no paper. So on the sides, the margins of the pages, in those tiny little margins, Reb Levi put thousands of thoughts, the fruits of tens of thousands of hours of study of Torah, written concisely, briefly, in very small margins, on a few holy books, written with love and self-sacrifice. Those holy books were in exile, and 2 or 3 of the books left exile, left the Soviet Union with my grandmother, Doba Riva Shaikevitz, in 1962. It was around the time of the Cuban Missile Crisis when our grandmother was given permission to leave the former Soviet Union. The Rebbe would not allow just anyone to take his father's books. And he gave the okay to give Doba Riva at least 2 of the books. It might have been a third. And she took the books with her. She was given the books in Riga. The books had been in Alma-Ata under the guardianship of some of the great Hasidim, so Rav Katzenellenbergen, who told my grandson that he remembers, Ot habe ich gegeben der Siddur zu Doba Riva. I gave Reb Levi's Siddur to Doba Riva. There was also a Tanya and perhaps a Zohar that my grandmother brought with her. As she was going through customs, they checked out everything she had with a fine-tooth comb. They found her Siddur, her Tzenerena, and Reb Levi's holy Sfarim. The customs official looked through the holy books, and he was going to confiscate it, claiming that these were national treasures, that it appeared that these were manuscripts. At that very moment, there was a tumult. People began questioning what's going on, where suddenly an officer, an army officer, appeared with a uniform filled with medals on his chest. And he asked the customs official, "What are you doing? What's going on?" And he showed him, "These are manuscripts." And he looked a couple of pages through the books, and he says, "These are Babushka's prayer books. These are prayer books for the Babushka. Let her have it." And so the custom official, not knowing what the books were, put them back, and my grandmother was allowed to proceed. She had not reacted. She showed no emotion when the man was holding the books and questioning what these were for. These are the books that I study. These are the books that I pray in, she said. And she showed no outward emotion. For had she shown emotion, they would have understood that these were very valuable. And now she was collecting them, putting them into her suitcase to go to Israel. But she wanted to thank the soldier or the general or the major, whoever this was, the one with all the medals on his chest. And she looked for him because he had been in line with her. And she looked for him and he was not there. She looked and looked. She hadn't noticed him before, and now she couldn't find him. My grandmother, to her dying day, believed she had seen Elijah the prophet. One could be skeptical and say that the Rebbe had prepared one of the Hasidim to go in a uniform and in the possibility that there would be a problem to come and intervene. The problem with that theory is that it would have been extremely dangerous, and the Hasidim, the Chosid that gave my grandmother the books, did not accompany her to the airport. It would be very unlikely that one would put himself into such a position, for he would be tracked. They would people who would see the person entering. And people would take notice of this, and suddenly he would disappear. They would also take notice of this. It seems very unlikely that this actually happened, and perhaps really, my grandmother truly saw Elijah the prophet making sure that the holy books of Reb Levi would come to his holy son, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, who ultimately published them. My grandmother had these books with her for one night only. She showed the books to her son-in-law, Reb Chatzkel Springer, who woke his children up, had them wash the traditional Negelwasser, the 6 times, 3 times in each hand, alternatingly, so that they could look at these holy books. The oldest two recognized and saw the holy books and remembered them very well, and saw the different colored inks that the Rebbe Tzimchana had prepared, because no different blade of grass, no grass has 2 different types of grass have different reactions to various chemicals, and they produce either red ink or brown ink or yellow or green or blue, depending upon the grasses. And they saw the different colored inks. Why was my grandmother chosen? First of all, she was a woman. Less suspicion go on a woman. Furthermore, my grandmother was known to be stone cold brave, not showing any emotion at all. She had been arrested in 1946 trying to leave the Soviet Union. and was shown pictures of Hasidim whom the authorities wished for her to spy on or to tell information, give them information on them. And among the Hasidim that they showed her were people that she had played with as a child. What did she do? She said, "Leave me alone. I'm just an old, foolish woman. Leave me alone. I can't read or write. What do you want from me?" How old was she then? She was 52 years old. And 16 years later, 53 years old. And 15 years later, at age 68, again, she was stone cold without showing any emotion and not indicate any kind of anxiety. And that made sure that those holy books would reach their holy place. And so today is 2 days after the Yortzeit of Reb Levi, whose holy soul left us 75 years, 2 days ago. And it's a week. My grandmother's Yortzeit is next Shabbos. And so it's appropriate to remember and realize that people took great pain and great risk in order to make sure that the fire of Hasidus will continue to burn and bring its warmth to as many Jews as possible. She could have had the books confiscated, and upon questioning, could have lost her chance to go to Israel, and worse, she could have been arrested and died alone in a jail. But she feared none of those consequences because she knew that whatever she did for God and for God's glory. And maybe that's why the 68-year-old widow, Hasidic grandmother, saw Elijah the prophet on that day.